Hey, class, welcome back. We are talking about the American Revolution today. We got through with the causes of the American Revolution. They had the battles of Lexington and Concord, which was the very first battle of the Revolution. And today we're talking about Fort Ticonderoga, and it was an important site during the American Revolution. It actually changed hands a couple of different times, but we're focusing more on the very first time it changed hands because it was a British. It was occupied by the British, and Ethan Allen and Benedict Arnold, which we'll talk about more and more as we talk about this unit. Benedict Arnold, he played a big role, and later became a spy for the British. So he switched sides. But Fort Ticonderoga, they needed these cannons for Bunker Hill so they went and took over the Fort Ticonderoga from the British, and it wasn't really. It's a battle, but it really wasn't a battle. This one wasn't. But that's what we're talking about today, Fort Ticonderoga. And it was a fort. It was located in upstate New York between Lake Champlain and Lake George. And there were 3 battles that took place, like I said, during the Revolutionary War. But we're focusing more. I go a little bit over the other battles, but we're focusing more on that first one where Ethan Allen, Green Mountain Boys, and Benedict Arnold took over the fort.
Where is Fort Ticonderoga? Fort Ticonderoga was a fort located in upstate New York between Lake Champlain and Lake George. There were 3 battles that took place there during the American Revolutionary War.
All right. So the capture of Fort Ticonderoga. The capture of Fort Ticonderoga, it took place on May the 10th, 1775. It was captured by the American forces first, which is what we're going over today, and then later by the British forces. So, and if you look here, this is a picture of Ethan Allen when they captured the fort, and you'll see what he says here in just a few minutes, what he said as he captured it.
Capture of Fort Ticonderoga. The capture of Fort Ticonderoga took place early in the Revolutionary War on May 10, 1775. It was captured by the American forces first, then by the British forces later.
All right, the Green Mountain Boys. They were a local militia, and they were led by Ethan Allen. All right, and they were given the task of taking over the fort for the Patriots. They joined forces with Colonel Benedict Arnold from Boston. All right, they did not like Benedict Arnold at all. All right, they just didn't like. They didn't want to really join forces with him, but they did. They eventually agreed. And at first, they didn't want to fight under him, but they agreed to joint command. And Ethan Allen actually took a little bit of the thunder from him during this battle.
Green Mountain Boys. The Green Mountain Boys were a local militia led by Ethan Allen. They were given the task of taking over the fort for the Patriots. They were joined by Colonel Benedict Arnold from Boston. At first, the Green Mountain Boys did not want to fight under Colonel Arnold, but eventually Ethan Allen and Arnold agreed to joint command.
All right. So, capturing the fort. This is Ethan Allen right here, and this is Benedict Arnold, by the way. If you look right here, this is them. We'll talk more in depth about Benedict Arnold as we progress through the American Revolution. All right. The Green Mountain Boys, they began to sneak across the river during the night, and but only about half of those men got across. But rather than wait, the rest of the forces, Ethan Allen decided, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and attack. There was only one guard on duty, and when they got there, he shot, but it was a misfire. And when they did that, it was just, okay, well, there's only one guard. We're going to go take him out, and we're going to take over this fort.
Capturing the fort. The Green Mountain Boys began to sneak across the river during the night. However, only around half of the men had crossed the river by the time the sun rose. Rather than wait on the rest of the forces to cross, Ethan Allen decided to attack. There was only one guard on duty at the south gate where they first approached. The guard shot, but it was a misfire.
All right. When his musket misfired, the guard ran away, and it was open for the Patriots to take over. So they entered the fort. They took over the 48 British soldiers. They took them by surprise. And Ethan Allen, whenever he he got in there, he yelled out, he said, "I'm taking the fort in the name of the great Jehovah and the Continental Congress." No one was killed in this attack. That's why I said this was hardly a battle. No one was killed. Not one single person was killed. And the main reason that they wanted to take over this fort, and I said earlier, they wanted control of its cannons. All right. And the cannons were moved to Boston, where they used to help end the siege of Boston. All right. This was a little bit before the Battle of Bunker Hill, and we'll get into that next time we talk.
Capturing the fort continued. When the musket misfired, the guard ran away, and the way was open for the Patriots. They quickly entered the fort and took the 48 British soldiers by surprise. When approaching the leaders of the fort, Ethan Allen yelled out he was taking the fort in the name of the great Jehovah and the Continental Congress. No one was killed during the attack. The main reason for the Americans to take the fort was to get control of its cannons. The cannons were moved to Boston, where they were used to help end the siege of Boston.
All right. So the fort was held by the Americans after this. It was used to defend New York from the British attack from the north. And there were about 2,000 soldiers under the command of General Arthur St. Clair. And they held it for a little while. And he had requested more soldiers from George Washington, but Washington didn't believe that the British was going to attack when they come to retake the fort. And he was wrong. He was wrong about that.
Siege of Fort Ticonderoga. The fort was held by the Americans and was used to defend New York from a British attack from the north. Guarding the fort were 2,000 soldiers under the command of General Arthur St. Clair. General St. Clair had requested more soldiers from George Washington, but Washington didn't believe the British would attack.
All right. In early July 1777, this was a couple years later, the British did attack. They brought about 8,000 soldiers under the command of General John Burgoyne. And they realized early that Ticonderoga was vulnerable to an attack from a higher ground on Mount Defiance. So they placed their artillery on top of this mountain. So it's looking down on top of the fort. All right, well, they could shoot their cannons inside of it or whatever they wanted to do. And when St. Clair saw that the British had these large guns placed up on Mount Defiance, and there was nothing he could do to stop it, he knew he had no chance to keep the fort. So he ordered the men to retreat and gave up the fort to the British. This was the second time it had been changed hands. And the loss of the fort was a huge blow to the Americans. The Americans did try to recapture the fort at a later time, but they weren't successful in it. But there were 3 battles there at Fort Ticonderoga during the American Revolution.
Siege continued. However, in early July of 1777, the British did attack. They brought a large force of 8,000 soldiers under the command of General John Burgoyne. Burgoyne realized early that Ticonderoga was vulnerable to an attack from the high ground of Mount Defiance. He positioned his artillery atop the mountain and began to surround the fort. When St. Clair saw that the British had large guns in place on top of Mount Defiance, he knew he had no chance to keep the fort. He ordered his men to retreat and gave up the fort to the British. The loss of the fort was a huge blow to the Americans.
All right, comprehension questions. How many battles took place at Fort Ticonderoga during the American Revolution? Was it A, 0, B, 8, or C, 3? It is 3. The answer is 3. There were 3 battles during the American Revolution.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 2, what was the name of the militia who helped Ethan Allen and Benedict Arnold? A, the Green Mountain Boys, B, the Soggy Bottom Boys, or C, the Backstreet Boys? It was A, the Green Mountain Boys, and they did not like Benedict Arnold at all.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 3, what was the name of the man who yelled he was taking the fort in the name of Jehovah and the Continental Congress? It was A, Paul Revere, B, Ethan Allen, or C, John Hancock and Samuel Adams? It was B, Ethan Allen is the one that yelled that.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 4, who also led the capture of the fort? What was his name? Was it A, Benedict Arnold, B, Mr. Shawn, or C, Sharon and Miss and Taxes? It was A, Benedict Arnold, which we will get into more depth with about him later on in this unit as the American Revolution progresses. He betrayed the Americans and became a spy for the British, and that's where the term, if you ever hear anybody say, hey, you're a Benedict Arnold, that means you're a traitor. So that's where it comes from.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 5, in 1777, who took the fort back? Was it A, the British took the fort back, B, Mr. Shawn, or C, John Hancock and Samuel Adams? It was A, the British took the fort back in 1777. They placed up their guns up on Mount Defiance and had the high ground, and there wasn't nothing they could do about it, so they just gave up the fort. The Americans did.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
And that's all for today. I'll be back next time with the Battle of Bunker Hill, where Joseph Warren died at Bunker Hill, and he was an important man with the Sons of Liberty, and probably would have been the first president had he not died that early in the American Revolution. So we'll talk more about that too. So, but anyway, you all have a good day. Be sure to go on Schoology, read through this, answer your comprehension questions, and get credit for it, and turn it in and get credit for it. I will see you all next time. Have a good day.